Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of A Gardener's Journey Homestead. I am Barbara. I am excited today because y'all know what today is. It's seed starting day. It is seed starting day. And as always, I'm happy about it because y'all, we are 4 weeks away from the last frost date. If you're in zone 7B, 7A, 4 weeks. That means it's a month away. That means it is in view. It is in view. I'm so excited to do this video every single week. When it's time to start seeds, I get excited because I get to share it with you. We get one step closer, and y'all, we need the 4 weeks to come because my house is getting full. If you start a lot of seeds like me, then you know what that's about. But if you're new here, I want to just say welcome. We have a lot of new subscribers, so welcome to my channel. I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you watch each and every video and just rock with us on this journey. All I simply do is just share with you my gardening journey. Literally, I started gardening in April 2020, so this is going to be my 4th summer gardening, and I'm taking you along the journey as I learn my wins, my losses. I've gone from have never put my hands in dirt to now growing, I would call a full-scale garden for me. So we have a tunnel that's behind me, a high tunnel that's 30 by 96 that has raised beds and in-ground gardening. We also have an in-ground garden space that you'll definitely be seeing a lot of this summer. That is 4,000 square feet. And then I have 5 raised beds behind my house, which is where my garden started. So literally, by the time I jumped on YouTube a couple of years ago, I only had the 5 raised beds and the hot tunnel. You guys saw us build the in-ground garden, and you saw us last year how we expanded it. So you're kind of coming in on half part of my journey, but from here on out, just rock with me, right? And I hope to encourage, inspire, and motivate you to grow food. So let's talk about what we do each and every week here when we start seeds. So I have a seed starting playlist that I will pop up here. So every week from 12 weeks up until now, 12 weeks before the last frost date, I have done a video every single week about what seeds I am starting. And even before that 12-week video, I did a couple of videos on how to get organized, how to organize your seeds, how to order seeds, knowing what to order. I also talked about how I'm methodically and intentionally starting seeds each and every week on purpose. What that means is I'm starting the seeds that should be started at that time frame. I'm not starting all my seeds at one time. It's not by happenstance. It's not like, oh, let me drop a seed here and drop a seed there. No, it's very intentional and it's on purpose. So if you like that kind of order and you want to have a systematic way of starting your seeds and planting your garden, then I am the girl for you, because that's what I am all about. I'm about order. I'm about efficiency. I love products, love technology, and I love gardening. And also I love HR. So you see my shirt today says HR Life. So gardening is my hobby. In my day life, I run an HR consulting business, and I do HR consulting for small business owners. So that's what this t-shirt is all about, HR Life. And I love gardening as much as I love HR. And for those who have known me a long time, that's saying a whole lot, because I love what I do in my business, but I also equally love gardening. So in today's video, we're going to start seeds that you should be starting 4 weeks before your last frost date, no matter what zone you're in. So for some of you, you are already ahead of me, meaning your frost date is sooner than mine. So my estimated last frost date is April the 20th in zone 7. So you may be like in zone 8, where your frost date, your estimated last frost date is, I think, around April the 1st, somewhere along in there. That means that you're only like a couple of weeks away from your frost date. But then some of you are behind me, where your estimated last frost date is beyond April the 20th, right? So if you are with me or behind me, then you can follow along, right? If you're ahead of me, then you're ahead of me. And hopefully what I start at 4 weeks is what you started at 4 weeks, or somewhere close to it, right? So, y'all, come on. These bees. Okay, loose me and let me go. Okay, so I still got a little city in me. I don't like the bees, right? The bees are here to do a job, so I'm here for you to do your work, but I'm not your work. Leave me alone, okay? So back to the matter at hand. So on seed starting, my estimated last frost date is April the 20th. So we are 4 weeks out. So each week I'm talking about what seeds should you start planting at that time frame. The reason why this is important is that a lot of you may not have success because you are starting your seeds too late, too soon, and you're not considering your last frost date and also the length of your growing cycle. So you will see that today, the things that we're starting some brand new things, which makes me equally excited, because when I get to this point in the season and we start changing up from tomatoes and peppers, I know we close. We are close. And then it's good to just start something new. If you've been with me, we've been starting tomatoes and peppers for like the last 3 weeks, right? Except for the exception of last week. So it's been different peppers and different tomatoes, but it's also been the same tomatoes and peppers. But this week we get to delve into something new. And I'm going to tell you what that is. But also what I do each and every week is that I show you the seeds that you and I started together the previous week. I do that one so that you can see how my seedlings are doing. And also, if you are tracking along with me, you can see what your seedlings should be looking like, what the progress should be or could be, right? And just make sure that you're on track. So before we go any further, let me show you the seeds that we did together just last week. We only did one tray last week because we were at that 5-week mark. So if you didn't watch that video, go back and watch it. But let me show you the seeds that you and I started together just last week. Okay, guys, remember we did one tray together last week, and we have decent germination. So let's kind of go through. This is the celosia. We got 5 out of 6. That's glowing embers from Florette Farm. Here's the coleus. Oh, I have one germinating right there. I was going to say nothing has germinated. So maybe coleus takes a long time. That is my first time growing that flower. In the nasturtium row, we have 1 out of 6. I'm sorry, we have more nasturtiums here. So this 6 block, we got, it looks like 5 out of 6. So that's good on that one. On the marigolds, we have good germination right there. Straw flowers, we have good germination. Our lettuce, good. Here is a different kind of lettuce mescaline. It has not germinated at all. And then this marigold has not germinated at all. And I think that's because this seed is old. It's the 2nd or 3rd time I've tried it and nothing. Here is, let's see, red flame, cayenne, nothing, but it's a pepper and it has not been on a heat mat. So I'll give that another week or so. And then here is lemon basil. We have good germination. And this is Italian sweet basil. We have good germination. So overall, not too shabby. Okay, so y'all see that we have pretty good germination rates. Some things have not germinated as of yet, but that's okay, because like one of the basils I think didn't germinate, but it has not been on a heat mat because that tray was a mixed tray. So all of those things on that tray did not like heat, so therefore I did not put it on a heat mat. But traditionally, when you're doing your peppers, your eggplants, your tomatoes, and even my basil, I put on a heat mat for the first, couple 2 to 4 days, depending on whatever the seed is, to get it started to germinate quicker, right? But overall, we just did one tray last week, and if you watch that video, you know that at that 5-week mark, what we were doing was really, I had taken inventory of what all I had at that point, and I was strategically planting things last week that I still needed, right? And so it was very strategic, like, okay, I need a couple more flowers, I need a couple more of this. But for the most part, I was good on my tomatoes and peppers. That's why you didn't see me start any, okay? So that was at the 5-week mark. Now, before we jump into what we're planting at the 4-week mark, there's a couple of things that I want to remind you or encourage you that you should be doing on this seed starting journey. Number one, at this point in your journey, especially if you're in my zone, you should be up potting your tomatoes and peppers by now if you have not already started, depending on what you started them in. So for me, we have started things in a variety of mediums. We've started it in soil blocks. We have started things in a 16-inch sail. We have done 72 sails. We have done a big soil block. So we've done it many different ways. But for the most part, my tomatoes and peppers, I did either in the 6 sail tray, or I did in the 16 sail tray, right? So that means for my tomatoes and peppers, I have been up potting for the last week and a half, because those trays are too small to hold the tomato from the time that I planted it all the way till it's time to plant outside. For your peppers, you typically start those 8 weeks before your last frost date. You cannot start in a little small pot and expect it to sit there for 8 weeks and be okay. It's going to get root bound. It is going to need fertilization, right? The roots are not going to be able to grow and have space to grow. So unless you started it in a big pot, and when I say big, I mean at least 3.5 inches or more, then you need to be up potting your tomatoes and your peppers. Up potting just means you're going from a smaller pot to a bigger pot. That's all that means. If you're using red Solo cups or yogurt cups or whatever the case may be, if you don't have enough space for your roots, you should be at the time right now up potting your tomatoes, your peppers, and your eggplant, right? At the very minimum. The second thing you should be doing is you should be fertilizing your plants, right? So if you started with a seed starting mix, if that's what it said on the bag, keep in mind that seed starting mixes do not have a fertilizer in them. It is just to start the seed. That seed starting mix is light, it's fluffy, so that the seed does not have to work its way through. It makes it easy for the seed to push through the soil, right? But it does not have nutrients in it. Now, for me, I use a potting soil mix that has fertilizers or nutrients in it, right? Because I'm doing it on a large scale, and for me to buy small bags of seed starting mix doesn't make sense, right? But even though I started mine with some nutrients in there, after your plants, your seedlings grow and you start to see the first true set of leaves, that is a sign that you need to start fertilizing your seedlings. Now, for me, I fertilize weekly. Right, I just started fertilizing a week or two ago. There's two things that I have used that I can personally tell you about. So I have used Neptune's fish emulsion. You can get it off Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's in my shop. So just click the link in my bio and you can go and grab some. And then also I use a product that for the first time this year called Rev. I've showed you Rev before. It is a product that I've been using in my garden, but this is the first time I've used it with my seedlings. And so I used it 2 weeks ago and I can see the difference. My seedlings look great. They look healthy, right? So no matter what you use, well, I shouldn't say no matter what you use some type of fish emulsion would be a very safe bet. Now, when you fertilize your plants, go by the directions on the label. This is not the time to freeform. This is not the time to say, you know what, they look pretty bad. Let me give them a little bit extra. Do not do that. Go by what's on the label or less. For me, I do less because remember, the seedling is a small, young, tender plant. So you definitely don't need to do more than what the bottle label says. But if you are second guessing, then do a little bit less. So that way your seedlings are protected. So those two things, you should be up potting and you should be fertilizing your seedlings. If you have questions about that, put them down below. But now let's head into the tunnel and let's talk about what we're going to plant this week. Okay, so we're in the tunnel. Let's talk about what we're going to start this week. So it's 4 weeks before my estimated last frost date. So anything that you see, if you're Googling and it says 4 to 6 weeks before estimated last frost date, you're good. 3 to 4 weeks before estimated last frost date, you're good. 2 to 4 weeks. So somewhere along that range. So the things that we're starting today, for the most part, are zinnias, which is one of my favorite flowers. And remember, we started a ton of flowers weeks ago, but we did not start zinnias and we did not start sunflowers because they grow much quicker. So you would not start them 8 weeks before, right? Because they're going to get too big before it's time for you to put them out. That's the reason why you have to start things when they're supposed to be started, right? It's better to, in some instances, to be late than too early, if that makes sense. So we're going to be doing our zinnias today. We're also going to be doing squash. We're also going to be doing zucchini, which some people call zucchini squash. We're going to be doing okra and corn. So those are the 4 things that we are going to start today: squash, zinnia, okra, and corn. Now, let me talk about some of the things that somebody may ask. Some people may say, well, I have read that you shouldn't start squash, that you can just direct sow it. So can you direct sow the things that I just mentioned? Everything I just mentioned, you can direct sow. Squash, you can direct sow, okra, zinnias, as well as corn. All of that you can direct sow. There's no issue. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can. You just have to wait until it's time for you to plant, right? for me, I'm getting a jump start. Now, 2 years ago, when I was an even more new gardener, I had read you should not start squash seeds. You should not start cucumber seeds because they don't like to be transplanted. Now, one thing I am is I'm going to get information. I'm going to research a lot of different sources, but I am going to try it myself because I need to know what it says. I need to know what it is for me, not just what a book says. So I tried it. I did squash, I did zucchini, and I did cucumbers. I had no issues. It transplanted and it grew just fine. I have done it that way for the past 2 years. So I feel comfortable saying that I can do it because I've done it. So what am I saying? I'm not telling you to do it that way, but what I am telling you that as a gardener, you have to get to the place where you research, get your information, but you have to put your hands to the plow and test it yourself. Know for yourself, not just what a book says, because what's the worst thing that could possibly happen, right? I started my squash seeds, and let's just say for some reason, I transplant them on the day of the last frost and they all die and they go through transplant shock or whatever the case may be. Guess what? I can put more seeds in the ground and then direct sow it. So always be thinking about, if you're going to try something that's less risky, smaller scale, something that you feel comfortable with, but don't be afraid of taking a risk in your own garden. Okay, let's talk about what seeds we're going to do. And I'm always on a time crunch, y'all, because I'm always trying to fit stuff in. So we may or may not do all of this in one sitting. I may have to come back later on this evening because I have to go to a bridal shower. So, okay, so let's talk about the zinnias that we're going to start. I love zinnias. If you want flowers in your garden, and I've talked about that you should have flowers in your garden for, if nothing else, companion planting, to bring pollinators to your garden. It's going to help your plants. It all is part of the garden ecosystem. For me, I love flowers for that, but I love them more for beauty. I love flowers. My husband came home on Thursday with a huge bouquet of flowers just because he knows how much I love flowers. It brings me so much joy. I have 4 bouquets in my house right now, and it brings me so much joy. So I grow flowers so I can put them on my table and not have to spend the money. But let's talk about zinnias. It's an easy flower to grow. So I encourage you, if you've never tried it, to definitely do it. So I'm trying a brand new one, and these are premium seeds. This is. So I got this from Floret Farm. And it's called a Floret Farm Original. It's Dawn Creek Honey. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? Can you imagine that in a vase with some greenery or something mixed in? I think that is so beautiful. It's like, it just says soft, subtle. I think the colors would be good for a bouquet. Maybe not the flower, but I just love those colors. It's like blush, rose, pinks. Beautiful. So we're going to try that. We're also going to do Oklahoma salmon. So thank you to my subscriber that went and got the seeds for me from Territorial Seeds. This is one of the ones that I wanted. It's so pretty. I'll try to pop a picture up here so that you can see it. It's so pretty. So I'm going to try that one. That's brand new. And these I've done before. El Dorado. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Northern Lights. You can see that. Those are beautiful. I'm doing one called Salmon Rose from Johnny's. It's pretty. It's like a salmon color. And then Polar Bear. That's like a great neutral colored flower to go into bouquets and things like that. So we're going to try that one. And then I'm going to try this one again because I really want this to work. I think this color is so pretty, but I've tried it a couple of times and mine didn't look like that. I don't know why. I'm going to try it again. So those are the zinnias that we're going to do. I'm going to start these in 2.5 inch bootstrap farmer pots, because again, these are intended for me. They're going to go straight from me planting them here, starting seeds, into the ground, meaning I don't plan to up pot them. So I want them to be ready to go in the ground in about 4 weeks or so. So let's get busy doing that. Okay, guys, as you can see, if you were paying attention, I ended up switching trays. Instead of me doing the 2.5-inch soil blocks, I went ahead and did a 72 cell tray. And I did that, and I'm gonna have to probably up pot it. Well, I know I'm gonna have to up pot it, but I did that because I need a lot of zinnias. I want a lot of zinnias, and this is again a good way for me to see what germinates, what doesn't. And again, I'm trying to conserve on space. My first seed starting station is completely full, so we have it full with 16 trays. And then my second seed starting tray, I think I have 1 row filled, so I can get, I think, 20 in there. So I got 16 more trays to go. But y'all, we still got a lot of stuff to start. So anyway, I went ahead and switched to this. This tray is done. We have 72 zinnias started of the varieties that I told you. So that is the first one that we're going to do. The next one we're going to do is squash, but my time is up. So I'm going to have to come back and do that with you later. But I'll be back, and then we'll go to the other stuff. Hey, y'all, I'm back. It is the next morning. So as things happen, I did not get back out here. By the time I got back, it was pretty much close to dark, and I had to harvest a big order that I actually have to drop off this morning. So I'm back this morning to finish starting seeds. So we left off with me, I started a tray of zinnia. So now we're going to do our squash. Let me show you the different kinds of squash that we are going to do. And then let me talk a little bit about squash. Now, in my area in Zone 7B, we struggle with squash bugs. In my 3 years of gardening, I have not found an effective solution, excuse me, to compete with the squash bugs. I have not. I've tried a few things. Nothing has worked. So if you got a tip and you're in my area that has worked, please put it down below. But what I have started to do is that I do multiple successions of squash, right? So squash is a very early maturing crop. You can usually have squash to harvest within 50 to 60 days. And so because I have a long growing season in Zone 7, I can do multiple successions of squash. So I have just put in my mind, the squash bugs are gonna come. I plant my squash, I get a good harvest on the first one. I may get half of a harvest the second time. Squash bugs come, I pull the plant out, and I just have new squash ready to go in. So I'm just I am having multiple successions as I go. One thing that does help is that as you plant later in the season, so as it starts to get cooler, like in the fall, like late August or really beginning of September, you don't deal with squash bugs as much. So some people just wait and do their squash, later on in the season in my area. For me, I want squash early on. Now, last year, I did not have a good squash year at all. Like it was poor, right? It was very, very poor. Like it was bad. My zucchini did much better than my squash, but my squash did really bad. I had a hard struggle with squash bugs, and then with I guess it was rabbits eating my plants. I have no idea. This year I'm going to try it again in the in-ground garden out here, but I'm also once my garlic and onions come out in the back of my house, I'm going to do a raised bed of squash back there. That was the very first plant that I planted back in April 2020. When I did my first raised beds, squash was the very first thing that I did. That is where I actually knelt down on my knees and I prayed and asked the Lord to somehow bless the seed, because I didn't know what I was doing. That is a real true story. I won't get into all that because every time I think about it, it makes me well up and cry. So I have a special thing for squash, right? Because it was the first thing that I planted that grew, and it did really well back there. So we're just gonna go back to the roots. I'm still gonna do it out here, but it's gonna be some more squash in the back of my house. But let's get to it. So we are going to do early prolific straight neck, which is a very traditional one. This is a Johnny's pack. Let me see if I can find one with a picture. I don't have one with a picture in this stack, but anyway, this is not from Johnny's. This is from a co-op. Early profile straight neck. So it's just what it says. It's going to be a straight neck squash. But then I'm also doing a early summer crook neck. It's what it says. It has like a crook or a hook on the end. So traditional yellow squash, you'll find that in any big box store. Then I'm going to do one that is new to me from Johnny's. This is a hybrid. I want to see if the hybrid, it should produce better, and it should be less, it should have more disease resistance. So this is called Tempest. This is a brand new one for me. I love Johnny's. 99% germination rate, So this means it's going to germinate. It's going to germinate today. I'm trying this one, just a few. Summer patty pan squash. I've never tried it. I've never seen it. I've never eaten it, never grown it. If you have, let me know. Let me know if you think I'm going to like it. So we're going to do that one. Just a few. And then we're going to do this one called Max's Gold. Is that not pretty? The botanical interests get me with their pictures every time. They get me with them pictures. So Max's Gold, we're going to try that one. And then for zucchini, we have 4 different kinds of zucchini. And so zucchini is just the dark green. We're doing a dark green zucchini. We are doing Dunja, which we did last year, which is a hybrid. And then we're doing Nochi, which we did last year, which is also a hybrid. And then we're doing this one, Emerald Delight. So we have 4 different zucchinis. And then we have 6 different squash. So I already have my tray ready to go here. So I'm just going to get to seeding, and we'll be done with this tray. Okay, y'all, squash is done. I wanted to highlight this one because as I was doing it, I was reading this one right here from Botanical Interest, Emerald Delight. It says it's a compact hybrid. It said it's extremely productive. And it says if you're small on space, this is a good one. So I didn't even realize that when I bought it. So I may try this one in my GREENSTALK and see what happens. So if you're short on space and you need something compact, I've never grown a compact zucchini, this might be one for you to try. Emerald Delight from Botanical Interest. So we have our squash done. We have a tray of that. Then next we have our corn and okra. And then also, this is one squash I didn't put it in here. I'll put it in the next batch. This is honey patch squash from row 7. I'm also going to sow that today as well, and just try it out. So let me get my next tray ready and see which size we want to do for that. Okay, so got the tray ready. We are ready to rock and roll. So I'm using the 6L blocks, and I'm only doing like half a tray of the 6L blocks. So on okra, I am doing the Clemson spineless. That's actually all that I have. And these are seeds that I saved from 2022. So hopefully they will germinate. I'm still in the valley of decision on whether or not I'm going to do okra. Y'all know how I feel about okra. I love okra to eat. Okra is a high maintenance diva plant. She's like, pick me or you're about to lose me. Like, pick me today or I'm out of here. And so I'm only going to do 12 okra right now. And maybe if I see it sprouting up and growing, maybe that'll compel me. But if not, then we'll just sell these plants. I'm still in the valley of decision. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so that's okra. Then I'm doing 4 different kinds of corn. All of them are new to me except one. I'm doing golden bantam, which is a very traditional corn. I'm doing silver queen. I'm also doing honey and cream from Botanical Interest, and I'm doing one called butter gold. So I have 6 each of those, and then I have the honey patch squash that I showed you before. I'm going to put this in this tray, and we're going to start off with that and see. And I'm still in the valid decision about whether or not I'm going to grow corn as well. I love corn. It's like my favorite vegetable, and buying it in the store is like trash because they're all GMO in the store mostly. So we're going to start with this, and then we'll come back and reevaluate on next week if we're going to do more. So let me do this last tray, and then we'll be done. Okay, y'all, we are done. This whole tray is done. So y'all, we have planted 4 crops today and yesterday: squash, corn, okra, and zinnias. So that is what we're doing 4 weeks before the last frost date. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I got to skedaddle because the day is jam packed, but I hope that your gardens are doing well. Whatever questions you have, leave in the comments below. And if you have any tips on the varieties that I've grown, or you've done them before, please let me know. Remember, gardening is a journey. Let's grow together. I'll see you next time, friend.